Hey everyone. Before we begin, I have one small request. If emotional love stories are your thing, stories that evoke feelings, thoughts, and a genuine sense of connection, please subscribe. It's the best way to support this channel and ensure you never miss a story. Elijah King spilled coffee down the front of his tailored gray coat as the train lurched forward, and a hot sting on his chest barely registered because his phone had just betrayed him. Nia Brooks laughed on the screen. Not a posed laugh, not a polite one. A real, head thrown back, eyes closed laugh, captured mid-motion at some charity rooftop in Brooklyn. Her curls were pulled up messily, gold hoops catching the light, one hand resting on a man's arm like it belonged there. Elijah froze as commuters brushed past him. The caption read, "Engaged." His thumb hovered, trembling, as if he could unsee it by sheer will. "Damn it," he muttered, shoving the phone into his pocket too late. The damage had already been done. Across the city, traffic horns blared, people rushed, life moved. And Nia Brooks, Nia who used to sit cross-legged on his kitchen counter eating cereal out of a mug, had moved on without him. The train screeched to a stop, and Elijah stepped off like a man waking from a dream he didn't ask for. Years ago, he had promised himself he wouldn't check her page anymore. Watching from afar had become a habit he hated but couldn't break, like touching a bruise just to feel something. He told himself it was harmless. Curiosity, closure, anything but the truth. The truth was that he never stopped loving her. He just stopped choosing her. Now, standing on the platform with coffee, soaking through expensive wool, Elijah King, billionaire, tech visionary, man featured on magazine covers for his discipline and control, felt 16 again and completely wrecked. "Get it together," he whispered to himself, straightening his coat like it could straighten his life. He had a board meeting in 20 minutes, a merger to finalize, a company to run, and somewhere across the river, the woman he loved was planning a wedding. 10 years earlier, Elijah had been late. Again, Nia stood outside the cafe on Fulton Street, checking her phone, the wind biting at her bare hands. She dressed up too, soft yellow sweater, jeans that fit just right, lip gloss she'd reapplied twice already. She tried not to let irritation win, but it tapped insistently at her patience. When Elijah finally jogged up, breathless, hair falling into his eyes, laptop bag slung over his shoulder, she didn't smile. "I called," he said quickly. "Twice." "You texted," Nia corrected. "One sentence. No punctuation. That's still communication." She raised an eyebrow. "You're late, Elijah." I know, I'm sorry." Investors ran long. They always do. He opened the cafe door for her, flashed that crooked grin that used to melt her. "Come on, let me make it up to you." Inside, they ordered coffee, slid into their usual corner booth. For a moment, it was easy, comfortable, the way it had been since the day they met at a mutual friends game night and argued over Uno rules like it was a blood sport. But something sat between them now, unspoken, heavy. Nia wrapped her hands around her cup. "You forgot my presentation." Elijah blinked. "What?" "My grad school presentation. I told you about it all week." "Oh, Nia, I'm sorry. I meant to. You said you'd be there. I had a pitch. A big one. They're all big to you. That's not fair." She leaned back, crossing her arms. "I rearranged my schedule for you last month when you had that demo. I showed up, and I appreciated that. I didn't do it for appreciation. I did it because that's what partners do." Elijah exhaled slowly. "This is temporary. You keep saying that." "It is. When does temporary end?" He opened his mouth, closed it. Nia's voice softened, and that somehow hurt worse. "I don't need you to be rich. I need you to be present. I'm building something. I know, and I'm proud of you, but I feel like I'm dating your potential instead of you." He reached for her hand. She let him take it, but didn't squeeze back. "Just give me time," he said. "I promise." She searched his face, hoping to find certainty. What she found was ambition burning, so bright it left no room for anything else. "I don't want to beg to be chosen," she said quietly. "You're not begging. Then choose me." Silence stretched between them, thick and cruel. Elijah didn't answer fast enough. Nia nodded slowly, eyes shining. "Okay." That night, she cried on her sister's couch. Elijah stayed up refining slides. Both told themselves it was necessary. Back in the present, Elijah stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of King Innovations. Manhattan spread out below him like a conquered map. His assistant hovered nearby with a tablet. Sir, the board is ready. Give me a minute, he said. She hesitated. Everything okay? Elijah forced a smile. Perfect. When she left, he pulled his phone back out and opened the photo again. He studied details like they might confess something different if he stared long enough. The way Nia leaned slightly away from the man. The way her smile looked full but guarded. The man was handsome, clean-cut. Doctor, according to a quick search Elijah hadn't meant to do. Marcus Hale, pediatric cardiologist, community volunteer. Safe. Elijah snorted quietly. Of course. He locked his phone and pressed his forehead against the glass. He hadn't just lost her. He'd trained himself to live without her and called it discipline. Now discipline felt a lot like punishment. Nia twirled in front of the mirror while her sister clapped dramatically from the bed. Look at you, Denise said. Engaged woman glow is real. Nia laughed, breathless. Stop, you're making me nervous. Marcus appeared in the doorway, tie half done, smiling. What's wrong with nervous? Everything, Nia said, grabbing her purse. It means I care too much. He kissed her cheek. I'll drive. As they headed out, Nia's phone buzzed. A calendar reminder popped up. King Innovations, acquisition finalized. Her stomach dipped. She stared at the screen a moment too long. You good? Marcus asked. Yeah, she said, slipping the phone away. Just work stuff. But her mind had already gone somewhere else. Somewhere she hadn't visited in years. She didn't know yet that Elijah King was about to walk back into her life. And Elijah didn't know that watching from afar was about to stop being an option. The conference room went quiet when Nia walked in. Not the dramatic kind of quiet where people stared obviously, but the subtle shift, the kind Elijah noticed because he had trained himself to notice everything. He looked up from the head of the table, mid-sentence, expecting another associate. Instead, the air left his lungs. Nia Brooks stood there in a navy blazer, hair pulled back into a low bun, glasses perched on her nose like she had always meant business. She looked taller somehow, calmer, like a woman who knew exactly who she was and didn't need permission to take up space. Elijah's voice died in his throat. She met his eyes. Something flashed across her face, surprise, yes, but also composure. She didn't freeze, didn't flinch, just blinked once, slow and deliberate, then smiled politely. Good morning, she said. Sorry I'm late. Subway delays. Elijah nodded like an idiot. Of course. Welcome. The room resumed breathing. Chairs shifted. Pens scratched paper. Nia took a seat halfway down the table, deliberately not near him. Elijah tried to continue the presentation. Tried. The words came out right, but his brain lagged behind, replaying the way she'd said good morning like they were strangers, which, apparently, they were. When the meeting ended, people filtered out in clusters, chatting about projections and timelines. Nia packed her bag calmly, rising just as Elijah stepped away from the table. Hey, he said too quickly. Nia. She paused, turned. Elijah. The way she said his name was careful, neutral. It hurt worse than anger. I didn't know you were with the firm, he said. I didn't know you were acquiring us, she replied. Looks like we're both full of surprises. He exhaled. Can we talk? She glanced at her watch. About work? About us. Her lips twitched. There is no us. He nodded, accepting the hit. Coffee? 5 minutes. Neutral ground. She hesitated, then shrugged. 5. They walked in silence to the cafe downstairs. Elijah ordered without thinking, black coffee, no sugar. When the barista asked Nia, she said, oat milk latte, 1 sugar. Elijah winced. You switched. She gave him a look. People change. They sat. So he said, you're engaged. Yes. Congratulations. Thank you. Another silence. This one heavier. You look well, he added lamely. She laughed, a short sound. You sound like my dentist. I didn't mean. I know, she said. It's just strange. It is. She met his gaze then, really looked at him. You look the same, just more expensive. He smiled despite himself. I'm moisturized now. She snorted before she could stop herself, then shook her head. You always did that. Sneak humor into serious moments. You always pretended not to like it. I never pretended. They both smiled. The memory lingered dangerously. Nia cleared her throat. Listen, I'm happy for you. Truly. And I'm glad your company is doing well. But I want to be clear. Okay. I'm not interested in revisiting the past. I worked hard to move forward. I know, he said. I don't want to disrupt your life. Good, but I'd like to be civil. Professional. She raised an eyebrow. You're my boss now. Civil is implied. He leaned back. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. She studied him. Then don't make this about feelings. He nodded. Understood. She stood. 5 minutes are up. As she walked away, Elijah watched her go, hands curled around his cup like it was the only solid thing left in the room. That night, Nia lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Marcus slept beside her, breathing slow and steady. She hadn't told him yet. About Elijah. About the acquisition. She turned on her side, careful not to wake him. Seeing Elijah again had cracked something open she'd sealed years ago. Not longing exactly. Awareness. The reminder that she had once loved someone deeply and survived losing him. Still, her chest felt tight. You okay? Marcus mumbled, eyes half open. Yeah, she whispered. Just thinking. About work? Always. He pulled her closer. We'll figure out. She smiled into his shoulder. We. The word was warm. Safe. And yet, somewhere deep inside, a quieter voice asked when safe had become enough. Elijah didn't sleep. He paced his penthouse, city lights blinking judgmentally through the windows. He replayed the conversation over and over, dissecting every look, every pause. She was stronger, sharper, untouchable, and engaged. Idiot, he muttered to himself, loosening his tie. His phone buzzed. A message from his friend and COO, Ryan. You look like you saw a ghost today. Elijah typed back. Turns out I did. Don't want details? Probably not. He tossed the phone aside and poured himself a drink he didn't finish. Over the next few weeks, Elijah watched Nia thrive. She led meetings with confidence, challenged projections without apology, earned respect without demanding it. People listened when she spoke. He made a point not to hover, not to interfere. He praised her work in group settings, never privately. Kept his distance. And still, he noticed everything. The way she tapped her pen when she was thinking. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when annoyed. The way she laughed with her co-workers, free and bright. At a company mixer, Elijah stood across the room, drink untouched, as Marcus joined Nia, kissing her cheek. Elijah turned away. Boss, Ryan said quietly. You good? Fine. You've been saying that a lot. Elijah glanced back just in time to see Marcus whisper something that made Nia laugh. A real laugh. His chest tightened. Who's that guy? Ryan asked. Her fiancé. Ryan grimaced. Ah, yeah. You gonna be okay? Elijah took a breath. I will be. He didn't move closer. Didn't interrupt. Just watched. From afar. Nia felt his eyes even when she didn't see him. It irritated her. Comforted her. Confused her. At home, she caught herself mentioning Elijah casually. He runs a tight ship, she said one evening. Marcus smiled. Sound impressive. He's efficient. That's high praise from you. She laughed, but guilt pricked at her. Later, alone in the bathroom, she stared at her reflection. You're not doing anything wrong, she whispered. Still, her heartbeat refused to settle. The next board meeting ran late. Nia gathered her things as people left. Elijah, she said suddenly. He looked up. Yeah. Walk with me. His pulse jumped. Sure. They stepped into the hallway. I want to be clear, she said. I don't regret my life. I wouldn't expect you to. But seeing you again, it's stirring things. He swallowed. I don't want to cause pain. Then don't romanticize the past. I'm not, he said quietly. I'm regretting it. She stopped walking. Faced him. That's your burden, she said gently. Not mine. He nodded. I know. She studied him a moment longer, then sighed. Just don't make me the thing you lost while you were busy winning everything else. I won't, he said. I promise. She walked away before he could say more. Elijah stood there, promise echoing in his chest, knowing restraint had never felt so heavy. Elijah learned quickly that restraint was louder than confession. He stopped attending optional mixers, stopped choosing seats that gave him a clear view of Nia. He answered her emails with clean, professional language, no jokes, no warmth. If he passed her in the hallway, he nodded once and kept moving. It was the hardest discipline he had ever practiced. Nia noticed anyway. You're avoiding me, she said one afternoon, catching him by the elevators. He pressed the button and kept his eyes forward. I'm respecting boundaries. That's not the same thing. The elevator dinged open. People stepped out and they stepped in. The door slid shut. Alone. Elijah sighed. What do you want from me, Nia? She crossed her arms. I want you to stop acting like I'm fragile. I don't think you're fragile. Then stop treating me like one wrong conversation will shatter me. He met her eyes. You're engaged. Yes. And I respect that. Respect doesn't require emotional exile. The elevator climbed. The tension thickened. I'm trying not to be selfish, he said. She laughed softly. You've always been bad at half measures. It's either all in or completely gone with you. That's not fair. It's accurate. The elevator opened. She stepped out, then paused. I can handle honesty, Elijah. What I can't handle is being erased. She walked away. Elijah stood there as the doors closed again, realizing that avoidance had its own kind of violence. That weekend, Nia and Marcus attended a dinner with his parents in Connecticut. His mother hugged her tightly, calling her our girl like it was already decided. His father poured wine, asking about wedding dates and guest lists. Nia smiled, answered, played a role. Later, in the guest room, she sat on the edge of the bed while Marcus brushed his teeth. You're quiet, he said around a mouthful of toothpaste. Long day. He rinsed, turned to her. You sure that's all? She hesitated. Work's been intense. That acquisition? Yes. He studied her face. Is that why you've been distracted? She forced a smile. I'm just tired. Marcus nodded, accepting it, but not fully convinced. When he turned off the light and wrapped an arm around her, Nia stared into the dark, wondering when honesty had started to feel like risk. At the office, tension escalated under the surface. During one design review, Nia challenged a cost-cutting measure that would impact community housing. It compromises the integrity of the project, she said firmly. A senior executive scoffed. It's efficient. It's short-sighted, she replied. And it'll cost more in repairs within 5 years. The room murmured. Elijah watched, impressed and irritated all at once. Run the numbers again, he said. Her way. The executive frowned. That'll delay. I'm comfortable with that. After the meeting, Nia cornered Elijah. You didn't have to do that. I did, he said. You were right. She searched his face. You didn't support me because of us, did you? No, he said immediately. I supported you because you're good. She nodded slowly. Okay. But her gaze lingered, like she was waiting for something else. The next escalation came from an unexpected place. Ryan cornered Elijah in his office. You're miserable. I'm productive. You're haunted. Elijah leaned back. Don't psychoanalyze me. I've known you for 15 years, Ryan said. You don't hover like this unless you're in trouble. Elijah rubbed his face. She's engaged. And I lost my chance. Ryan crossed his arms. Did you? Elijah looked up sharply. I'm not doing that. Doing what? Romanticizing something I already ruined. Ryan shrugged. We're taking responsibility and seeing what's actually true. She told me to stop. She told you not to erase her. Elijah stared at the city beyond his window. What if I hurt her? Ryan softened. What if you already did? And this is the part where you grow. Elijah didn't answer. Nia's breaking point came quietly. She and Marcus sat at a restaurant, menus untouched. I think we should postpone the wedding, she said. Marcus blinked. Postpone. I need space to think. About what? About us. His jaw tightened. Is this about him? She stiffened. Who? Elijah. Silence answered for her. Marcus exhaled slowly. I knew it. It's not what you think, she said quickly. Nothing has happened. But something is happening, he said. Inside you. She nodded, eyes shining. I don't want to marry you while part of me is still questioning. That's fair, he said quietly. Painful, but fair. She reached for his hand. You deserve someone who's all in. And you deserve clarity. They sat there, hands still linked, both grieving what could have been. The news didn't spread immediately, but Elijah sensed a shift. Nia looked lighter, sad but freer. At a late-night work session, they found themselves alone in a conference room, takeout containers scattered between them. She laughed suddenly. Remember when you tried to cook for me and almost burned your apartment down? He groaned. I still maintain the stove was faulty. You set a towel on fire. It was decorative. She laughed harder. You panicked. I reacted strategically. You screamed. Temporarily. They laughed together, the sound filling the room, erasing distance. She grew quiet. I called off the engagement. His heart slammed. Because of me? No, she said firmly. Because I wasn't being honest with myself. He nodded. I'm sorry. Don't be, she said. It was necessary. They sat in comfortable silence. Elijah, she said softly, why didn't you fight for me back then? He swallowed. Because I was afraid if I stopped building, I'd be nothing. And now, I know better. She looked at him. Knowing isn't the same as choosing. I know. She stood. Good night. Good night. As she walked away, Elijah understood something clearly. Love wasn't waiting anymore. It was demanding action. At a charity gala 2 weeks later, Elijah watched Nia across the room in a deep green dress that made conversation stop around her. He didn't stay in the shadows this time. He walked toward her. Nia, he said, can we talk? She smiled faintly. You finally stopped watching. He nodded. I'm done with Afar. And the night shifted quietly but unmistakably toward a reckoning neither of them could avoid. Enjoying the story so far? Make sure you subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter of the adventure. The music at the gala swelled just enough to make conversation feel intimate, like secrets could pass safely between breaths. Crystal glasses chimed. Cameras flashed. People smiled the practiced smiles of those used to being seen. Nia turned fully toward Elijah. You're sure? She asked. Because you don't get to say that and then retreat again. I won't, he said. His voice was steady, even though his heart wasn't. If you tell me to leave you alone, I will. Completely. But I won't pretend you don't matter. She studied him, searching for cracks. You've gotten better at words. I've gotten worse at lying to myself. That pulled a quiet laugh from her. Walk with me. They moved toward the terrace, cool night air washing over them. The city stretched endlessly beyond the railing, lights blinking like witnesses. You look happy, Elijah said. Different. Lighter. I am, she said. Ending something kindly still hurts, but it feels honest. I never wanted to be the reason you questioned your life. You weren't, she said. You were the mirror. He winced. That sounds painful. It was, she said, but necessary. They leaned against the railing, close enough that his arm brushed hers. Neither moved away. Why now, she asked. Why step forward now? Because watching you build a life without me taught me something, he said. Love that hides isn't love. It's fear dressed up as patience. She breathed out slowly. You always did learn things the hard way. Consistently. She smiled, then sobered. I won't be someone's almost again. You wouldn't be, he said immediately. You'd be my priority. That's easy to say at a gala. Then judge me by what I do after. She nodded once. Okay. Not forgiveness. Not acceptance. But not dismissal either. And that was everything. The next weeks tested him. Elijah made deliberate changes. He delegated projects he used to hoard. Left the office before midnight. Showed up when he said he would. When Nia mentioned a community design review on a Saturday, he attended quietly, sitting in the back, listening. Afterward, she approached him. You didn't have to come. I wanted to. She tilted her head. And I learned a lot, he said. Mostly that you intimidate people. She laughed. Good. They started talking more. Carefully. No labels. No assumptions. Coffee turned into walks. Walks turned into dinners that ended early by mutual agreement. Like both were afraid of rushing the fragile thing forming between them. One night, as they stood outside her building, the air thick with unspoken want, she said, You can't kiss me yet. I know, he said. Thank you for not trying. Thank you for trusting me enough to say it. She smiled, soft and real, then went inside. Elijah leaned his head back against the brick, exhaling a shaky breath, and laughed quietly at himself. Patience had never felt so alive. The escalation came from the world, not them. A business article dropped one Monday morning. King Innovation CEO linked romantically to employee. Elijah read it once, then again. By noon, his phone was blowing up. Ryan stormed into his office. Tell me this is nonsense. Elijah closed his laptop. We've been careful. Careful doesn't stop speculation. I didn't cross any lines. I know, Ryan said. But optics don't care about truth. Elijah rubbed his temples. I won't let this touch her. Then you need to address it. Nia found out from a coworker. She stood in Elijah's doorway, phone in hand, eyes blazing. Did you know? Yes, he said immediately. I was about to call you. She held up the screen. This could damage my credibility. I know. I worked too hard for this. I know, he said again. And I'm sorry. Her voice shook. I didn't ask for this. I won't let it continue, he said. I'll issue a statement. Clarify boundaries. That helps you, she snapped. What about me? He stepped closer. I'll step back. Publicly. From you. From a firm, if necessary. She blinked. What? I'll remove the conflict, he said. However that looks. Silence stretched. You do that? She asked. Yes. Even if it costs you. It's already cost you, he said. That's not acceptable. Her eyes filled, surprising them both. You're serious, she whispered. I am. She looked away, steadying herself. Okay. The statement went out that evening. Elijah announced he would recuse himself from any decisions related to her department and appoint an independent overseer. The article cycle moved on within days, but something fundamental had shifted. They sat on a park bench the following Sunday, leaves crunching beneath their feet. You didn't have to go that far, Nia said. I did, he replied. I needed you to know you're not collateral damage in my life. She smiled faintly. You're learning. Painfully. She nudged his knee. You're doing better. He glanced at her. Can I ask you something selfish? She shrugged. Try. What do you want from me? She thought for a long moment. Consistency, courage, and laughter. I could do laughter. I know, she said. That was never the problem. They sat in companionable silence. A couple walked past, holding hands, arguing lightly about dinner plans. Nia watched them. I used to think love had to be dramatic to be real. And now I think real love shows up quietly and stays. Elijah reached out, tentative, and she let his fingers intertwine with hers. The contact sent a jolt through him, warm and grounding. Stay, she said softly. I'm not going anywhere. The kiss came later that night, unplanned. They stood in her kitchen, cooking together, music playing low. Elijah burned the garlic. Nia scolded him, laughing. He apologized dramatically. You're impossible, she said, smiling. You love it. She opened her mouth to argue and stopped. They looked at each other. You sure? He asked. She nodded. The kiss was slow, gentle, earned. When they pulled back, she rested her forehead against his. That, she said, changes things. Yes, he agreed. But we're still choosing. Good, she said. Because I want to choose you, not fall into you. He smiled. Deal. Outside, the city hummed, unaware that two people had just rewritten the rules they once broke. Choosing each other turned out to be harder than falling ever was. The honeymoon phase tried to sneak in anyway. Late-night phone calls that ended with both of them whispering, okay, really, I'm hanging up now, and then not hanging up. Grocery runs that somehow turned into debates about cereal brands and inside jokes about burnt garlic. Elijah learned that Nia hated folding laundry but loved organizing books by color. Nia learned that Elijah talked to himself when thinking and named his plants like they were employees. Don't judge me, he said one evening, watering a fern. This is Carl. Nia squinted. Carl looked stressed. He's underperforming. She laughed so hard she had to sit down. But underneath the ease, reality waited patiently. They were older now, wiser, carrying scars they refused to ignore. One night, lying tangled in sheets, Nia traced slow circles on Elijah's chest. I need to say something, and you can't fix it. He stilled. Okay. I'm afraid, she said. Not of you. Of us. I figured. She looked up. You did. You don't rebuild trust without fear, he said. If you weren't scared, I'd be worried. Her throat tightened. What if you wake up one day and decide I'm a distraction again? He didn't rush to answer. That's a fair fear, he said. All I can tell you is that I've already made that choice. I rearrange my life, not my schedule. She searched his face. And if it costs you something? It already has, he said. And I'm still here. She nodded slowly, letting the truth of that settle into her bones. The real test came 3 months later. Elijah received an offer he'd been chasing for years, an international expansion that would require him to relocate to London for at least 18 months. He read the email twice, then closed his laptop. That night, he cooked dinner. Actually cooked. Followed a recipe. Didn't burn anything. Nia raised an eyebrow as she Saturday. Why do I feel like this meal comes with news? Because you're observant, he said, pouring wine. They ate, talked about nothing, laughed, delayed the inevitable. Finally, Elijah set his fork down. I got an offer. She didn't smile. How big? Life-changing. And the catch. London. Her chest tightened. How long? 1.5 years. Maybe more. Silence stretched, familiar but unwelcome. She pushed her plate away. And what do you want? He met her gaze. I already declined. Her eyes widened. You what? I declined. You didn't even talk to me. I knew if I entertained it. I convinced myself it was logical, he said. And I didn't want logic to decide this. Nia stood abruptly. That was my decision to make, too. I know, he said quickly. I'm not trying to be noble. I'm trying to be honest. I don't want a life that pulls me away from you anymore. She paced. Do you know how much pressure that puts on me? I do, he said softly. And if you want me to reconsider, I will. She stopped. You'd go, if that's what you needed. She stared at him, emotions warring across her face. I don't want to be the reason you resent your life. You're the reason I want one, he replied. Her breath caught. Don't do that, she whispered. Don't make this romantic. I'm not, he said. I'm making it true. She walked to him slowly. I don't want you to shrink your dreams. I'm not shrinking them, he said. I'm redefining them. She leaned into him, forehead against his chest, and laughed through tears. You're infuriating. I've been told. They didn't rush after that. They talked about everything. Money, family, kids, expectations. What marriage meant to them now, not back when they were younger and guessing. Nia introduced Elijah to her parents properly this time. No rushing out. No phone calls taken mid-dinner. Her father watched him carefully. So, he said, folding his napkin, what's different now? Elijah didn't flinch. I know who I am without my work. And I know who I want beside me. Her mother nodded. That's a better answer than most. Later, in the kitchen, Nia whispered, You passed. Elijah exhaled. I was sweating. I noticed, she teased. My dad clocked it too. Great. The proposal didn't come with fireworks or crowds. It came on a quiet Sunday morning. They were in their pajamas, drinking coffee on the fire escape, city sounds floating up around them. Elijah set his mug down. I have a question. Nia smiled. That tone is suspicious. He pulled a small box from his pocket. I'm not asking you to complete me, or save me, or follow me anywhere. She covered her mouth. I'm asking if you want to build a life with me, he said. Side by side. Loud arguments, quiet mornings, burnt garlic, and all. Tears slid down her cheeks as she laughed. You're really bad at surprises. Is that a yes? Yes, she said, breathless. It's a yes. He slid the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. The wedding planning was chaotic and joyful and exhausting. Nia insisted on elements that honored her culture. Elijah listened, learned, asked questions. I want us both in this, he said. She kissed his cheek. That's the point. The day of the wedding dawned clear. Elijah stood at the altar, hands shaking, heart full. When Nia walked down the aisle, glowing, steady, choosing him openly, he swallowed hard. She reached him and whispered, You're not watching anymore. No, he whispered back. I'm here. They said their vows with laughter and tears and promises rooted in truth. When the officiant pronounced them married, the room erupted. Later, as they danced, Nia rested her head on Elijah's shoulder. Worth the wait? She asked. He smiled, pressing a kiss to her hair. Every second. The reception hummed with life. Music, laughter, clinking glasses, and the occasional squeal from someone catching the bouquet. Elijah held Nia close, swaying gently, letting the chaos surround them without touching the bubble they'd created. She leaned back just enough to look up at him. I can't believe this is real. It's real, he said, and we made it our way. She laughed softly. I used to think love meant grand gestures and drama. Now I know it's patient choices, day after day. Elijah pressed a kiss to her temple, and sometimes burnt garlic. She elbowed him lightly. Don't remind me. They danced in silence for a few moments, letting the city lights filter through the windows, casting long reflections over polished floors. The kind of reflections that remind you life doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be true. Later, outside, Elijah helped Nia into her coat. The night air was crisp, smelling faintly of winter approaching. The streets glimmered with city lights reflecting off wet asphalt. Do you remember the last time we were outside together like this? She asked, smiling faintly. He nodded. I remember running late to that cafe, spilling coffee all over myself, and thinking, I have to fix this. She laughed. You didn't fix it. You almost lost me. I know, he said quietly. I've spent a decade trying to make up for it. Watching from afar, learning to wait, learning how to love properly. She looked at him, eyes bright with emotion. And now Now, he said, taking both her hands, I don't watch. I don't wait. I show up. Fully. Her lips trembled into a smile. Good. Because I need all of you. No half measures this time. I promise, he said, holding her tightly. The weeks after the wedding were a whirlwind of travel, house renovations, and blending their lives in ways they had only imagined. Elijah learned the nuances of Nia's favorite coffee order, her tendency to overpack for trips, and the way she hummed when she concentrated. Nia learned the quirks of his schedule, the exact way he liked his spreadsheets organized, and how to read the subtle tension in his jaw when he was thinking too much. One evening, exhausted from a long flight, they collapsed onto the sofa, both fully dressed, shoes kicked off, bags still unpacked. You're smiling, Elijah said, noticing the way her eyes sparkled in the dim light. Because I'm exactly where I should be, she said, and I finally feel safe, not just with you, but in myself. I'm glad, he whispered. I spent years being scared that I'd lose you again, scared I'd wait too long and it would be too late. She tilted her head, fingers brushing against his. You came when it mattered. You didn't just show up for the good parts. You stayed for the hard ones too. I stayed because love isn't about perfection, he said. It's about commitment, even when life throws chaos at you. And you finally get to be messy with me, she added, teasing. Not just brilliant and in control. I'm okay with messy, he said, grinning. Especially if it comes with you. They laughed together, a soft, lingering sound that wrapped the apartment in warmth. Months passed, and life continued to escalate in ordinary, beautiful ways. They argued, sometimes loudly, about furniture arrangements, paint colors, whose turn it was to take out the trash. They celebrated victories, small and large. Elijah's company launching a new innovation, Nia receiving recognition for a community project. Every moment became another thread, weaving them closer together. One Sunday morning, Elijah found Nia in the kitchen, hair messy, pajama top falling off one shoulder, making pancakes while humming. You know, he said, leaning in the doorway, you're ridiculously domestic when you want to be. I am, she said, flipping a pancake with precision. You just notice now? I notice everything about you, he said, walking over to press a kiss to her temple. She smiled, breathless. I guess that makes me dangerous. I like dangerous, he said. They collapsed on the sofa afterward, plates stacked on the coffee table, syrup smeared on the counter. This, she said, gesturing to the chaotic kitchen and the apartment filled with their laughter. This is better than I imagined. It's us, he said simply. No pretense, no watching from afar. Just us. One evening, Elijah found himself walking Nia home from an event. It was raining lightly, city streets reflecting neon signs and streetlights. He held the umbrella over both of them, but his hand lingered near hers, and when she let him, he intertwined their fingers naturally. You know, she said, looking up at him, I never thought we'd get here. Neither did I, he admitted. But that's why it's perfect. We didn't rush. We chose. Every step. She smiled. I think that's what makes it real. He stopped in the middle of the street, rain falling softly around them. Nia Brooks, I've watched you from afar, waited too long, and made every mistake a man can make. But I swear I will never do it again. I choose you every single day for the rest of my life. Tears filled her eyes. I choose you too, Elijah King. No more watching. No more doubts. He pulled her close, rain soaking their coats, city lights bouncing off puddles. They kissed, long and unhurried, a promise sealed not with grand gestures, but with unwavering truth. Years later, they'd look back on their story, the mistakes, the patience, the watching from afar, and laugh. Sometimes over burnt garlic, sometimes over board meetings that reminded them of how far they'd come. But most days, they didn't think about the past. They simply lived it, together, side by side. Elijah would still make Nia coffee exactly how she liked it. Nia would still tease him mercilessly about his spreadsheets. They'd argue about trivial things and make up in laughter, tender touches, and soft words whispered late at night. And every time, without fail, they remembered the moment when patience turned into choice, when watching from afar became showing up fully, when love finally became something they didn't have to chase. It was theirs always. Elijah sometimes caught himself staring at her during dinner or while she was reading in the living room. The memory of the decade he spent waiting didn't sting anymore. It was proof. Proof that love, when true, waits but rewards those willing to fight wisely for it. Nia caught him once, staring. "What?" she asked, laughing. "Just thinking," he said, "about how lucky I am." "You're lucky every day," she said, leaning into him. "No," he corrected, brushing a curl from her face. "I'm blessed, because I watched. I waited, and then I chose you." She kissed him softly. "And I chose you back. Every day without fail." They held each other quietly, city lights outside blinking like old friends, the hum of life continuing around them, the past finally behind them. And in that moment, they knew with absolute certainty. No more watching from afar. No more doubts. Only love, chosen and cherished every single day. If you felt anything while listening to this story, if it made your heart race, made you smile, or reminded you that real love still exists, don't keep it to yourself. Hit the like button to support the channel, subscribe so you never miss a new romance story, and turn on notifications to stay close to every heartbeat, every twist, every unforgettable love. I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from. Your city, your country, your corner of the world. Your support helps this channel grow, and your comments inspire the next love story.